Today I'm going to be talking about emotional first aid and how to let go of emotional pain. So that way you can start getting back on track and enjoying your life once again. So stay tuned. That's coming right up. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli, the in-studio edition. This is episode number 4. And if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing and then banging the bell. So that way you get all notifications and you can start getting a better grip on your life. All right. Now then, let's get to this topic here today because it's a pretty serious natured topic here, one that is very near and dear to my heart. And I also have a personal story to share with you that's regarding a story between my father and myself, and seeing my father in a way that I'd never seen him before back in my younger days. Anyway, so the topic of today's Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli in Studio Edition is emotional first aid and how to let go of emotional pain. Now, many of you are probably wondering, why did I title this emotional first aid? Well, pretty much, I feel that each individual out there, comes into this world as an individual. And we're all emotional creatures. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're an emotional creature. Now, we know that women were made by a higher power to be more emotional than men at a normal and natural level. But that doesn't mean that men are not emotional at all. And it doesn't mean that it is not okay for a man to show his emotions every now and then. It's going to happen. We all go through things in life, whether we're male or female. And, when we get hurt, when we lose something that's very close to us, that's very near and dear to our heart, we're going to feel a lot of pain. Okay? And many people out there don't know how to handle these situations. And that's where I'm here to share my experiences of what I've been through, which is probably something you're currently going through right now if you're watching this video. And I'm going to share with you folks what I've been through and how I handled it and how I pulled through it. And that's how, I like to administer emotional first aid upon myself. So basically, you will be administering emotional first aid to yourself by the time you end this video, especially if you're going through something. And I promise you, you're going to feel a lot better if you stick around to the very end of this video, because I'm going to share with you some stories here and some situations I've been through and give you some examples, because I know you're probably hurting. If you were searching for this video on YouTube or wherever you found it, you're probably hurting and you're looking for, help to, figure out what you're going through and to figure out why you're so emotional and how to get past it and how to get through it. That's what I'm here to do for you folks. And I really care about you folks. I'm seriously here to help people get back on track. It's interesting to me how emotional this world has become, more so than ever before. Now in 2019, there's so much going on, even between men and women, and so many, different things in the modern world that are brand new. Women have been liberated and, men are not sure how to handle that. And the divorce rate is higher than it's ever been. And it's created a society unlike anything we've seen. And because it's so new and we're still learning to adapt to it. Okay. There are many more, instances of people being hurt, people being divorced, people being dumped in a relationship. There's just a lot more going on nowadays. So it just seems like this world has, become much more of an emotional or emotionally reactive type of world. And a lot of that also has to do with the fact that we now have social media and smartphones attached to our hips that allow us to connect all day, every day, with people on the internet that we probably will never meet in person. And a lot of times those emotions are, projected amongst these people online, because each one of us as an individual, we have our own issues. So we come out to these platforms looking for an outlet. Okay. So with all that being said here, I want to share with you folks a story, about my father, when I was younger. When I was younger, I was much more emotional than I am today. Growing up, I would say I was probably a little more emotional than the average boy. I was more so raised by my mother growing up, because my father was working all day, every day to provide for the family, and my mother was a homemaker back then. So, I picked up a lot more characteristics from my mother, her nurturing side, and, her emotional side as well. Okay. And I've always been very open and honest and expressive with my emotions. And I just never saw that out of my father. My father was always the rock. And his father, my grandfather, okay, he was the rock as well. My grandfather and my father were both two very, very strong men that were practically the leaders of my family as I was growing up. And they were very, very well respected. But I never saw any emotion from my father. I never saw my father cry, even during tough times. And back then I didn't realize what was really going on because I was younger. I was just wondering, okay, why is he never emotional? Why is he always strong about everything? The world's not a perfect place, but it just doesn't faze my father, doesn't bother him. Well, when his father passed away, my grandfather, okay, on my father's side, my father cried unlike anything I've ever seen before. And it made me feel weird at first. But afterwards, I started to realize that, hey, even the strongest man out there, or woman, okay, but in this case, it's a man, my father, even the strongest man out there is going to have his moments. Same with you ladies. Even the strongest woman out there is going to have her moments. So while initially I thought that my father crying, there was something wrong with it, there was absolutely nothing wrong with it, which is what I'm trying to say. And, looking back at it now at age 45, compared to when this happened, I believe, how old was I? I was 25. I think it was 20 years ago when my grandfather passed away, my dad's dad. Okay. When I was 25 years old, I felt, weird about it. But now looking back, I'm like, I totally get it. My father was a human being. I say it was because he passed away almost 10 years ago. God rest his soul. So at that point, I started to realize that, hey, you know what? Showing your emotion is okay in certain situations. But you can't let those situations bring you down permanently. Many people, when they go through something traumatic, such as losing a family member, okay, or, when I say losing a family member, I mean a family member passing away or a friend passing away. Or let's say, you're in a relationship and your other half breaks up with you, or you're in a marriage and your other half divorces you, or, you're working a great corporate job that's been paying your bills for many, many years, and then you get laid off that job or you get fired. Many people, after they go through something like that, they go from being way up here high to an all-time low. And a lot of people will react emotionally to it. Now, it is okay to react emotionally to it initially, but you have to immediately start administering emotional first aid to yourself. Because if you don't, more than likely what's going to happen to you is that you're going to keep dwelling on it and you're going to slip into depression, and that's going to set you further behind. And that's going to create many, many issues. life is not easy. Okay. In all honesty, folks, I've been through a lot. I've had a lot of these experiences in my life. Many of these experiences, put me from here to here. And there were days where I just didn't feel like going on. I was never suicidal. Don't get me wrong. I was never suicidal. And I'm hoping that none of you are suicidal. And if you've ever contemplated that, please reach out to me. If you are suicidal, I'm willing to help you free of charge. If you're suicidal, I'm willing to help you get back on your feet. Okay. That's something I take very, very seriously. But, sometimes I would let things get to me longer than I should. And, I would sit around and mope and dwell for many, many months. There were times in my younger days where I dwelled over things for a year, such as ex-girlfriends back then. I used to dwell over an ex breaking up with me, for a year or so. And as I started getting older, I realized, why am I going to sit there and waste my time dwelling over someone that doesn't want to be with me? I'm a great catch. I'm a great person. If they can't see it, that's their problem, not mine. Okay? So you have to administer, emotional first aid to yourself immediately whenever you go through something emotional and traumatic, because your life has to move on. You have to move forward regardless of what happens. Okay? If you lose your job, for example, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck, okay, and maybe you have enough money to pay your rent for one more month, you got to get back out there and get a job right away. So you have no time to sit down on the couch and mope and groan and whine about something that you just went through, okay, such as losing your job. You can't sit there and let that depress you. You have to say, hey, look, I lost my job. I don't agree with them firing me or letting me go, or they laid me off because they were downsizing. So I got to do something about it. First, I'm going to go apply for unemployment, and hopefully I get that, to maybe help me buy a month or two, before, I can't afford to pay my rent anymore. Okay. Because in many cases, if you live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, okay, unemployment won't even cover your rent. So, if you're in that situation, you have to take action immediately, use all your resources, your friends, your family, let them know that, hey, I just lost my job. Many people, what they'll do is they won't even say that they lost their job because they're embarrassed by it. They don't want, their friends and family to start feeling sorry for them. But in actuality, why would you not want to tell your family? Because they might be able to help you with a resource to get a job before you lose it all. Same with your friends. Okay? There's nothing wrong with this stuff happening. Okay? This stuff is going to happen. But it's how you handle it afterwards and how quickly you take action afterwards that's going to make the difference of whether you're going to recover or not. Okay? You don't want to sit around and mope and groan and then boom. Okay? You sit around, you don't apply for a new job, you don't get a new job, you run out of money, and next thing you know, you're evicted from your place. Where are you going to go? Now, hopefully you have some family or friends that would be willing to put you up for a month or two or three. Okay? I'm sure most of you out there have that. For those of you that don't have that, I don't know what to tell you. If you have issues making friends, if you don't have at least one or two or three good friends that you can rely on in an emergency situation, then you have more issues than I'm speaking on here. And then we should talk one-on-one, and I can help you out with those. Okay. But yeah, you need to take action right away. Same thing when you're out there and, let's say you go through a breakup. I've mentioned this before. Okay. If you go through a breakup, and you're the one that was dumped. Okay. And you're hurt. Okay. Yes, it's going to sting for a month or two. Okay. And yes, you should take a little time off, a month or two, to reflect on what happened, to figure out what went wrong, to learn from it. And that way you can better yourself. And the next time you get in the relationship, you're going to know how to better handle yourself, especially if you made some mistakes. Okay. And typically, if you're the one that got dumped, you made some mistakes. Okay. And own up to your mistakes, by the way, or else you're never going to be able to move forward. That's an issue I see with many people out there. They don't want to own up to their mistakes. And then what happens? They get broken up with. They get into another relationship. They make the same mistakes, and then they're broken up with again. And then the cycle repeats itself. It's a vicious cycle. Okay. So definitely own up to your mistakes. Take a few months off and say to yourself, administer more emotional first aid in that situation to say, I am better than this. My ex left me. He or she didn't want to be with me. I'm not going to let that get to me. I'm going to go out there and find somebody better. And then put yourself back out there. Don't do it right away, but don't wait forever either. You don't have to wait a year or 2 or 3 to, put yourself back out there. Take a month or 2 for yourself, work on yourself, get in better shape like I've mentioned in some other videos, buy some new clothes, okay? Do things that are going to improve who you are and make you feel better. And then put yourself back out there. And then when you put yourself back out there, I promise you, you're going to eventually find someone better than your ex. And you're going to start feeling really good about yourself once again. Okay? But you just can't sit around and do nothing and mope because you were hurt, because you're feeling, emotional pain. You got to let go of that emotional pain because you're better than that. You're much better than that. And there are better people out there than the people that you're experiencing this emotional pain over that are going to want to spend more time with you and make you feel better. But you have to realize that. You have to sit back and say, look, I'm not going to let the past get to me. I'm not going to let, my ex breaking up with me get to me. I'm not going to let, me losing my job with my former employer get to me. Okay? I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to get a better job and make more money. I'm going to find a better man or woman to date. And it's going to make me feel good. That's what's going to make you feel good. Okay? But the whole moral of the story is to basically not sit around and mope and fall into a depression. Okay? I'm one of the most honest coaches you're going to meet out there. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty upfront. I am pretty direct. I'm so direct, sometimes it offends people. But the truth hurts. And the only way that any coach or myself can help you is by being straight up and upfront with you, even if it hurts you to hear what we have to say, even if the truth hurts, because the truth does hurt. The truth of the matter is that you are your own worst enemy. You know how I know that? I've always been my own worst enemy. But you know what? At this point in my life, at age 45, I look back and I realize that, and I take ownership of that. And I've taken ownership of my mistakes. And I am not a perfect person. There's nobody out there that's perfect. Okay? I'll go ahead and mention this. There are many people out there that highly scrutinize coaches. And they say that if you're a coach, if you're going to be a coach, you need to lead by example and basically have the perfect life. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Not even coaches. What coaches like me have is a lot of experience. And we share those experiences to allow you to make the best decision in whatever, you want to accomplish. There are right ways to do things and there are wrong ways to do things. Okay? And what these people out there that scrutinize coaches don't understand is the fact that you can do everything 100% right. And it still may not be good enough for some people. Let me make it very clear. You can do everything 100% right and make 0 mistakes, which doesn't happen because we're humans. We do make mistakes. But let's say there was a perfect human being out there that did everything right 100% of the time. That still doesn't guarantee that his relationship or marriage is going to work. Because people have emotions. And people's emotions get triggered for different reasons. Hey, if you're a man and you're too perfect, that might make a woman's emotions feel like, oh, this is too good to be true, or this guy is really, boring. He's just, too perfect. So, there's no mystery there. So when you hear people out there, criticizing coaches and basically saying that, are you going to trust a coach that, is not married or has been broken up with before? Every single person has been broken up with. And many of you out there have been through a divorce. Does that mean that you don't know what you're doing or know what you're talking about? Absolutely not. You have more experience, and the more experience you have, the more stories you have to share. And the more you can help people out. Okay? What I do is I share principles. I share life principles on a business and personal level, and help you folks, apply those principles as best as possible, and share with you folks, if you go down this path, this is what may happen. If you go down that path, this is what may happen. I don't tell people which path to go on, but I make them aware of their options and allow them to make an informed decision based on my past experiences. Okay? So I need to start wrapping this up here because I'm trying to keep my videos much shorter now. We're at 21 minutes. Look, folks, we're all human beings. We all have emotions, whether we're a man or a woman. But the truth of the matter is, we all came on this planet as an individual, and we're all going to leave as an individual. And we all want to be loved. We all want to be successful. We all want to make a name for ourselves. So the next time that you go through something, whether it's a breakup, a divorce, you lose your job, you have an argument with a friend, or there's a death in your family, or something traumatic happens, okay? It's okay to grieve over that for a little while. But then you got to let it go. Then you have to administer emotional first aid on yourself and let go of that emotional pain. Now, don't get me wrong. I will never forget my father. I love my father to death, but I had to let that emotional pain go almost 10 years ago because, how old was I when he passed away? 34, almost 35. I had and still have a full life ahead of me to live. I'm not going to sit there and mope over the loss of my father for the rest of my life. I respect the man and I will never forget him, but I've been able to let go of that emotional pain and turn it into something positive. And now I refer to my father, whenever I have certain examples to share with you folks. And I've learned from him. I've learned a lot from him. And it makes me feel good to still have him around in spirit. But I don't let that bring me down. I don't let that, emotional pain stay with me. You have to let it go and turn it from a negative into a positive. Again, you are all individuals out here. Okay. You're all going to experience many traumatic things in your life, many unexpected traumatic things in your life. Okay. But it's how you handle those things that's going to make the difference of how your life's going to end up. Okay. I see many people out there nowadays that have fallen into a deep depression over some of the things I've discussed here. Okay, because they just don't want to let that emotional pain go. You're an individual, and you have to take care of yourself, and you cannot be dependent on anyone else to take care of you. You've got to take care of yourself. Even women today, you got to take care of yourselves. Women have been liberated. You cannot be dependent on anyone to take care of you. Okay? Now, you can live with someone. You can enjoy the company of someone. You can marry someone. You can date someone. But you have to go into it with the attitude of, okay, I can live without this person, but I'd rather live with him. It's another example I've used before. I'll use it again. But you always have to think in the back of your mind that if one day this person I'm spending time with right now, whether I'm married or dating them, decides to not want to be with me, that I'm going to be okay being by myself. Trust me, folks. I've overreacted to these situations many times. I've learned the hard way. I've been very hurt in the past over breakups. But as I've gotten older, I'm learning more and more how to better deal with them. And I want to share with you folks these experiences. So if you go through this, and I'm sure you will go through it at some point, at least you'll have something to refer to. And it might help you make a better decision on what you do if you encounter these situations. Okay? And that's where I'm going to end this video here today. If you'd like to work with me personally, check below this or look below the description section and find the links there that are relative to whatever it is you're looking to reach out to me for. Another thing I wanted to mention that I typically forget to mention at the beginning of my videos is that I have a new Discord server. Discord is an online community where you can communicate in a group. If you want to join my Discord, just go below in the description. The Discord is called Coach Eli's Community of Unified Men and Women. We've got about 35 people in there right now, and we communicate daily in regards to many life principles. If you join the group, I'm in there. I can answer your questions, or somebody else in the group can answer your questions, and it's just an amazing bonding experience. So check that out, and that's going to do it, folks. Again, let that emotional pain go. It's not worth holding on to it. Trust me, there are times where I look back at my past and wish things could be different with certain people that I really cared about. Or, back in my corporate days, sometimes I wish that I had better opportunities at certain companies I worked for where I didn't get those opportunities. It's okay to look back at those days. Okay? It's okay to reminisce over that. It's okay to feel some pain over that. But you gotta let it go at some point. You gotta let it go, and you gotta move forward. Okay? That being said, have yourselves a great day, and I will see you all next time. See you all soon. Bye-bye.